Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. What an interesting 24 hours it has been for the cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin is now above 21,000 and was above $21,500 a minute ago after seeing a pretty epic surge yesterday. We're going to be addressing that. Ultimately, we've said, if you're going to get a rally, it's going to be here. Bitcoin was forming a bit of a base. We also know, and we've looked at the tech sector, certainly the NASDAQ, which is really providing the cover that Bitcoin needs to rally. And we've said that, look, this 200 weekly moving average is an area that's bound to get bid. It's basically held as support since 2008. And obviously going into a recession acts as support temporarily before we get that slam to the downside. This is what I think is coming. I'm still very much to the sort of mid to, certainly till the end of the year, very much have a continued bearish outlook. But markets just don't go straight down, and bounces will occur. It's why you've got to be careful trading these markets, certainly if you're trading with leverage. But of course, Bitcoin saw a bit of a surge, which we'll be getting into, and we'll start the video off talking about that. But I'll just outline quickly what we're going to be getting into. Celsius move $529 million worth of wrapped BTC to FTX exchange. Should we be worried? So we're going to try and ask and answer the question, are Celsius about to dump $500 million worth of Bitcoin onto the market in the form of WBTC? Celsius seem to have paid off the majority of their loans and actually are looking like they are going to survive this and, recover. I don't think in terms of reputation they'll ever recover. I certainly wouldn't trust Celsius as far as I could throw them. I think it's been a real... It's interesting because the guys that you think should know what they're doing have kind of, it's really turned out that they don't. We'll also talk about the fact this was a tweet that I think Cardano with Paul essentially had retweeted, talking about the fact that Celsius had took 50% of their ADA out of the pools. Are they looking to also dump this to kind of grab cash during this market? We'll kind of address all this when we get onto the Celsius question. Also, a very important day today is it's the non-farm payroll for the US. So the labour market is really the driving force for Powell continuing to hike interest rates so aggressively. He's using the sort of labour force and the strength of it to really determine that the economy is still in good stead and will handle these kind of interest rate hikes. But we'll see what happens today. A bad labour force, may be positive. A good one may, really confirm Powell's biases. But the labour force in terms of growth is certainly dropping off, along with GDP. We are in a recession, guys, and I think markets are going to struggle as a result of that. You've also got the Fed official, Waller and Bullard, back. Another big interest rate increase in July. So this would still be bad for markets. We'll see what the CPI comes out. There's lots of data coming this month that's really going to engineer the market. But let's start things off with a technical. In yesterday's video, we had spoke about the fact that Bitcoin was essentially in a bit of a void. If we drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that where Bitcoin is currently consolidating between are two areas on the way up of that had actually acted. We're consolidating essentially between this area and this one here in this kind of a void. So we did say in yesterday's video that it is quite likely that you fill a lot of that in. The problem that you've got is you have essentially a void down here if you break this, and this will not provide much support in my opinion. So the big support is kind of where we currently are at. It's 2017's prior highs. The issue is, do we hold this? And my suspicion is we don't. And I think really what's going to cause this is people running into the dollar. We're already seeing it. Dollar strength. I mean, the dollar is continuing to show strength today. It's going to continue to do so. Certainly, if you understand what's happening in the FX market and intrinsically why the dollar is getting the bid that it is. It's a real safety run at the moment. Negative correlation with Bitcoin, of course. But I think markets are seeing a strong dollar as a good sign that, commodities are coming down on the back end of it. We've seen that. The issue that you've got is, are you now just forming a bear flag like you've similarly done? And this has always been in play. For me, you're going to very much consolidate within here. You may see a bit more of an aggressive push, but ultimately I think this fails. You maybe see something like this, and then you come back down. And once you take this low out, imagine all the stops. You'll have a chunk of essentially stops that are here, just like you'd have had a chunk of stops for the shorts that were here. I think it was a significant amount of shorts were actually liquidated here. What's driving these markets right now is really the US equity market and actually traders. So people getting liquidated essentially is what's really propelling this market. It's why you're seeing these kind of volatile moves. But ultimately, I think it's a matter of time before we roll. Doesn't have to be. You know, if this is the bottom, we will get confirmation of that, certainly once we start taking out highs. But I'm not interested in running into a market that's about to have to deal with a full-blown recession. I think that's the way that we're heading towards, and we've spoken about that in great detail. So we're still very much keeping on with our downside bias eventually. Doesn't mean that we can't rally. Again, if we're going to have a rally, it's going to be here, given where the tech sector's at. The issue is I don't think this holds, and I don't think it can under the weight of what's coming. Let's get into the Celsius news. So Celsius moved $529 million worth of wrapped Bitcoin to FTX exchange. Should we be worried? The crypto community is concerned that the transfer could lead to a dumping of more than $500 million of Bitcoin into the market. Embattled lending platform Celsius has transferred nearly 25,000 wrapped BTC, WBTC, worth more than $529 million to crypto exchange FTX, prompting concerns from its community about whether a dump may soon follow. The huge transfer to the exchange comes after the lending platform paid off the remaining $41 million of debt to MakerDAO protocol, freeing up its entire wrapped BTC collateral. However, the community is unsure of what to make of this transfer, with some fearing that a dump of the wrapped BTC on the exchange could soon follow, pushing Bitcoin price lower. I do not believe that they're going to dump. You know, this is, you can see the transaction here in this tweet. I don't think they're actually going to dump this onto the market. I think that would be negative for them, even though they've lowered their liquidation price. You know, I don't think they're in the business, and certainly FTX, I don't think is necessarily in the business of causing markets to capitulate further. I don't think that's bad for. I think that's bad for business, essentially, in regards to crypto. So I don't think they're going to dump this, but it certainly is uncertainty. And if they did, we know that they took 50% of their ADA out of their pools on. You know, you can check this at ADA pools. They essentially took 50% off. So what are they doing with this as well? You know, are they really running for cash in fear that they may have more margin calls that they need to cover? Potentially, and one way they could be doing that is by selling off some of their other crypto holdings, which could look likely. But you've got to think in regards to, you know, how much ADA of this 50% is actual customers' ADA. So I think there's still a lot of people in limbo in regards to Celsius and what they're doing. Ultimately, it's a good sign that these guys have managed to survive, and hopefully we'll be able to start, you know, people can start moving their money out. But that causes a whole problem in itself. You know, often with banks, they'll take the money that they get deposited and then they'll lend it out, so they don't have it readily available. And this is the issue that we've seen. So we'll see. It's going to be certainly very interesting. We will keep you up to date on this issue. I'm not convinced they're going to dump $500 million worth of wrapped Bitcoin on FTX. I think there'll be some sort of an over-counter deal, or maybe they're looking to just swap their wrapped Bitcoin for Bitcoin and sort of move in that kind of a manner. But we will see. But Celsius, as far as I'm concerned, the cryptocurrency market should 100% boycott these guys. I mean, what a clown show. You know, they should all be fired. The company should be, you know, essentially restructured for the sake of the investors in the company and for the sake of the people that deposited with Celsius. And they should start again, because as far as I'm concerned, Alex and a number of these other people have lost all credibility within the cryptocurrency space. And this has actually been not just negative for Celsius, but negative for the entire cryptocurrency market, certainly the DeFi market and the crypto sort of yield farming applications like Celsius, like BlockFi, like everything. And it really all started with the Luna contagion. Terra Luna, I mean, wow, it's history. I mean, I'm still, you know, static when I even bring it up. You know, it is literally history that's took place within the crypto market. Stock futures edge lower ahead of key job reports. So you got the non-farm payroll today. Potentially going to get an update on the labour force market, how many jobs are added, or how many, you know, have been taken out of the market. The previous one, so you can see the consensus is coming lower. The forecast is around about 300,000. We'll see what we actually get. Usually these will miss and actually be lower than the consensus or the forecasts. So we will see. I think markets are already kind of not whenever there's data coming out, they kind of stall. But it's going to be a market moving event. I'm going to be watching that. I'll actually be doing a Twitter space with Wing Riders, I believe, when this is taking place, but then I'll get straight back onto it. But this is going to affect markets. You can see the FTSE is already selling off. That could have a lot to do with, Boris resigning and everything going on in that sort of sense. Asian market's not doing too badly, but you can see your futures. Certainly we've got the NASDAQ futures and the E-mini futures here are seeing a little bit of capitulation. I mean, this is a draw that we did ages ago, guys, explaining that this was going to happen, and look how true it's been. I'm very confident that ultimately the equity market is going to slam, and I think that brings crypto with it. Fed officials, Waller and Bullard back another big interest rate increase in July. So this is, this is the reason we're, in cash right now, or in USDC. So I'm in dollars as a British citizen because I don't want to hold British pounds. When you got the dollar doing what it's doing, dollar's going to be the superior currency and it's going to preserve your wealth in terms of fiat. Certainly, if you can farm it in a safe way with USDC, which of course is backed by BlackRock. But we're in the kind of territory. If they do another 75 basis point, that's really bad. And then even 50 in September. I mean, it's not great. It's not a good outlook for markets. It really drives the demand for dollars because you need more to pay back the interest rates. And we're already seeing a huge struggle in dollars, which is really going to propel it even further. And ultimately, we've got a recession around the corner, which I think, is going to be bad for markets generally. I don't want to sound too doom and gloom, but it's just what I see ahead, and we're positioning accordingly. And at the end of the day, guys, all I can be with you guys is honest on what I'm seeing moving forwards. Crypto will survive and thrive. US regulators release first of many reports on the cryptocurrency following executive order. So this is still going on in the background. We've still got regulations. They are coming. There's no getting around that. And I actually think this is going to be a positive thing rather than a negative thing, and really propel cryptocurrency to the kind of level of adoption that we want to see it, and really sort of immortalize its standard as an asset class. Regulations are one thing that's really holding that back and holding many people from getting into the market. So lots happening. We'll see what today brings. Are we just doing this sort of bear flag structure? Could this turn into some sort of rising wedge or something? I think so. And ultimately, we're not getting too excited here, and very much, maintaining the mantra that we think markets eventually go lower, even if this is the relief. And we do see an extended relief rally. For me, you're going to get Bitcoin sub 20K again. I think that is something that I'm pretty confident about. All I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed this one, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video.